Landmarks, Public Sightings, and Disposition. At this time, please place all phones on vibrate or silent mode. If you want to submit testimony, send it to landmarkstestimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that's landmarkstestimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning. I am Councilmember Farah Lewis, Chair of the Subcommittee on Landmarks, Public Sightings, and Dispositions. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. I am joined today by my colleagues, Councilmembers De La Rosa, Ung, Marte, and Nurse. Before we begin today's agenda, I will remind members of the public who wish to testify remotely that we ask that you register online and that you may do so now by visiting www.council.nyc.gov/land-use to sign up. If you have already registered but have not yet signed into Zoom, please do so now and remain signed in until you have testified. For anyone wishing to submit written testimony on the items being heard today, we ask that you please send it via email at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Please indicate the LU number and the project name in the subject line of your email. Hearing LPC designations, Linden Street Historic District and former Colored School Number 4 individual landmark. Today we will hold public hearings on the Linden Street Historic District in Brooklyn Community District 4 in Councilmember Gutierrez's district, along with the former Colored School Number 4 individual landmark in Manhattan Community District 4 in Councilmember Botcher's district. Both were designated by the Landmarks Preservation Commission in May of this year. I now open the public hearing on these two pre-considered items: the historic district under ULURP number N230353HKK and the individual landmark under ULURP number N230362HIM. We are joined today by representatives of LPC, including Director of Research Kate Lamos McHale and Director of Community and Intergovernmental Affairs Stephen Thompson. Councilmember Gutierrez could not join us today for today's hearing, but we have a written testimony from her office celebrating and urging support for this designation, and the statement will be submitted into our record. Councilmember Botcher, if he comes, will also provide remarks. I'll remind anyone wishing to testify remotely, if you have not done so already, you must register online, and you may do that now by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land-use. Council, will you please administer the affirmation?
Panelists, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Kate Lemus McHale.
Stephen Thompson.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, can you all hear me? Great. If I could have our slides, please. And good morning, Chair Lewis and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to present these recent designations. And we could go to the next one, please. Thank you. The Linden Street Historic District was designated on May 9th. The small district is a remarkably intact group of 32 row houses built between 1885 and 1901. They were designed by Brooklyn architects and are a highly successful integration of late 19th century picturesque styles. Representing the area's early residential development, this architecturally and historically significant district stands out as a unified streetscape with a strong sense of place. Next slide, please. The Linden Street Historic District consists of the row houses on the block of Linden Street between Bushwick Avenue and Broadway. At LPC's public hearing on February 28th, 8 people testified in support of designation, including representatives of the Historic Districts Council, the Bushwick Historic Preservation Association, South Bronx Cares, and 5 individuals. 1 individual representing Open New York opposed the designation. The commission also received 6 letters from members of the Bushwick Historic Preservation Association in support of designation. And we did work with Councilmember Gutierrez's office and the community board, both who were very supportive of designation. Next, please. Bushwick, oh, sorry. The historic district is in the southern area of Bushwick and is the neighborhood's first historic district. There are currently 12 individual landmarks in the neighborhood, and shown here are several of those, including freestanding houses and civic and religious buildings. LPC staff studied the area carefully in the context of Bushwick Avenue and the neighborhood's late 19th and early 20th century development, and found that its distinctive row houses, the continuous nature of the streetscape, and its intact historic character really distinguish this area within the neighborhood. We had meeting with property owners and many follow-up conversations with them as well through the process. Next, please. Bushwick is one of the original 6 towns in Brooklyn. It was chartered by the Dutch in 1661. It became part of the city of Brooklyn in 1854. And these two maps show its rapid transformation between 1880, when there really was not much built, and 1898, after the arrival of the Broadway elevated train service really spurred development. So within about a decade, most of the blocks were filled with wood frame and masonry houses, and by 1901, all of the row houses in the district had been built. Over the years, many of the houses shown on these maps have been altered or demolished and replaced, but those on Linden Street remain highly intact. Next, please. The district was developed by Samuel Meeker, who was a lawyer and one of the founders of the Williamsburg Savings Bank. And he built a house for himself on the corner of Bushwick Avenue and Linden Street in 1852, and you can see that in this photograph, and developed the rest of the lots on the block. Next, please. These Queen Anne style brick, terracotta, and brownstone row houses are an impressive section along the west side of Linden Street facing Bushwick Avenue. They were designed by Brooklyn architect Frank Keith Irving, whose work is represented in the Crown Heights North and Prospect Heights historic districts. The sophisticated row is notable for its continuous bands of decorative terracotta, ornamental friezes and parapets, and high Victorian end house with a mansard roof that you can see here in the photo. Next, please. Moving down the block towards Broadway, in the middle is a row of brownstone and brick row houses designed in the Neo-Grec style by Edward F. Gaylor and built in 1885. These have characteristic Neo-Grec style incised lintels, bracketed sills, door hoods and cornices, and many of the high stone stoops retain their historic cast iron railings and newel posts. And closest to Broadway are brownstone row houses designed in the Renaissance Revival style by Benjamin Finkensieper and built in 1901. Next, please. And across Linden Street is an intact row of Romanesque and Renaissance Revival style row houses with alternating projecting bays built between 1894 and 1896. Architect and builder Charles E. Palmer combined 2 popular late 19th century styles in his design for this row, which featured distinctive Romanesque rough-faced stone facades and Renaissance Revival style cornices and generously sized front yards. Next, please. The first residents along this section of Linden Street were predominantly white, middle, and working class families. After World War II, Bushwick's population decreased as residents left the city, and during the turbulent years in the 1970s and 80s, sections of Bushwick experienced unrest and decline that resulted in many lost buildings. In the 1990s and 2000s, government and community groups partnered to create new housing and improve services in the area, and the neighborhood has since attracted an influx of new residents from Central and South America, the Caribbean, Asia, and the Middle East. And today, the Bushwick neighborhood has continued to experience ongoing revitalization, and Linden Street reflects the diversity and vitality of its surrounding neighborhood. And preserving these houses also preserves that history of the people who have lived here through the history of the block. Next, please. So finally, this section of Linden Street has remained remarkably intact over the years and stands out as an architecturally and historically significant residential block in Bushwick. The designation helps further LPC's equity goals, and we had good community support. I urge the council to uphold the designation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I'd like to now recognize any of my colleagues if they have any questions or remarks, and we've also been joined by Councilmember Vernikoff. Any council member with questions? All right. You could move
Go
forward
to
to your
next one.
second
Okay,
presentation.
can we?
And when you're ready, you let us know. We'll put up
Okay,
presentation.
sure. Yeah, I'm ready for the next slide, please. Yeah, it's after, it just keeps going after this. Great, and the next slide, please. Thank you. The former Colored School Number 4 was built in 1849 to 1850. It's Manhattan's only known surviving colored school, as schools serving African American students were called at the time. It's an important reminder of racially segregated education in New York City, spanning the period between the Civil War and the post-Reconstruction period. In addition to illustrating what a small New York City public school looked like before the Civil War, it shows us how education afforded crucial opportunities and skills to Black students as they struggled against the discrimination and inequities that were part of their daily lives. Historian Eric K. Washington submitted a request for evaluation and research on the building, and LPC staff prioritized the building as part of our citywide survey and study of buildings with important African American history. We did a lot of detailed research and analysis of the building, and we're really pleased by the designation in May. At our public hearing on April 25th, 21 people testified in support of designation, including Councilmember Eric Botcher, representatives of Community Board 4, the Council of Chelsea Block Associations, several neighboring individual block associations and condo boards, local and citywide preservation advocates, and individuals including Eric Washington. In addition, we received 7 letters of support, including from the African American Redress Network and the Schomburg Center, and no letters were received in opposition. A petition supporting designation had 2,843 signatures by the time of the vote. Next, please. This is a map showing the landmark site, which is the tax lot located mid-block on the south side of West 17th Street between 6th and 7th Avenues. Next, please. This school building was constructed in 1849 by the Public School Society of New York as a primary school that could accommodate 300 children ages 5 to 7, using the model primary school house plan, which is shown on the left. Boys and girls used separate entrances and occupied separate floors inside the building. The New York City Board of Education was formed in 1853, and in the 1850s, following state legislation, created segregated schools identified as schools for colored children. This building became a colored school in 1860 for both primary and grammar school levels ages 5 to 14. At that time, there were 8 racially segregated public schools in Manhattan, serving 2,377 students. After the State Civil Rights Act of 1873, public schools were to open to all children, but that was slow to be implemented in New York City, where school segregation continued until 1884. For example, on this map, the former colored school number 4 in 1879 is still labeled C4 for colored school number 4. The map shows the school's immediate neighborhood at the time, which was home to modest row houses, churches, including the African Union Church on West 15th Street, a brewery, and other commercial and industrial buildings. Next, please. There were, excuse me, also colored schools in other boroughs. On the left, the former colored school number 3 was built in 1879 as a segregated school and is the only known example remaining in Brooklyn. It was designated a landmark in 1998. On the right is the former colored school number 48 in Jamaica, Queens, which was built in 1886 but is no longer standing. Next. Since the colonial era, literacy and education have been important priorities within the African American community as avenues for civil liberties and a means of advancement despite racist discrimination and segregation. New York City's education of black students began with the African Free School, established by the Manumission Society as a charity in 1787, An early schoolhouse built on Mulberry Street in 1815 is shown here in a drawing by one of its students. A number of graduates became prominent community and national leaders, including Henry Highland Garnett, who was a nationally influential abolitionist, and Charles L. Reason, a college professor and reformer who founded the Society for the Promotion of Education Among Colored Children. Next, please. Manhattan's African American community became the target of racist violence during the New York City draft riots, which engulfed the city on July 13, 1863. Over the course of several days, violent attacks targeted African Americans, houses of abolitionists, black churches, and institutions such as the former colored school number 4. Rioters stormed the school building, but the staff kept the mob out and the children safe. Those rioters then attacked other innocent victims across the street. Next, please. The former colored school number 4 was associated with important African American teachers and students. Sarah J. Tompkins Garnett became the principal of the school in 1863, just before the draft riots. She was one of the first African American women principals in the New York City school system. Her family members were well-to-do Brooklyn farmers and merchants, and she was esteemed as a prominent educator, ardent suffragist, and champion of social justice. Another distinguished teacher was Joan Imogen Howard, whose first teaching position was at colored school number 4. She earned a master's degree and later represented New York State on the board of women managers at Chicago's Columbian Exposition in 1893. And many students who attended the school went on to become prominent leaders in education, music, and management. Shown here are Susan Elizabeth Frazier, who became New York City's first African-American teacher assigned to an integrated public school in 1896. Walter F. Craig was a violinist, composer, and orchestra leader. And James H. Williams became a highly respected and influential supervisor known as the chief of the Red Cap Porters at Grand Central Terminal. Next, please. Manhattan removed the word colored from the names of public schools in 1884. The former colored school number 4 became grammar school number 81, but it continued to serve African American children until it closed in 1894. At that time, it was one of 2 schools taught solely by African American teachers. After 1894, the building remained in city ownership. It was leased to various Veterans Association groups, and by 1936, the Department of Sanitation was using it as one of their facilities and remains the building's owner today. The former school retains its original configuration and model primary schoolhouse design. Although the front facade was updated in the 1930s with beige brick, it still retains its original form, roofline, and window and door patterns. And incredibly, it still has its characteristic 2 entries that once separated boys and girls, and its historic wood multi-pane double-hung windows at the 2nd and 3rd stories. After careful study, staff determined the building retains its character-defining features that reflect its period of significance. Next. The former colored school number 4 is incredibly significant as an important reminder of 19th century education in New York City and illustrates how the city's public educational system served African American students during the city's period of mandated racially segregated schools. On May 23rd, the commission voted to designate the building, and Mayor Adams announced $6 million in funding for its rehabilitation. The designation had widespread support and is a significant part of our work to recognize important African American history throughout New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question.
Okay.
So sorry. It's being used right now by DSNY, and the mayor offered to give $6 million. Is that in the FY24 budget?
That is a good question. Turning to me.
I don't think that was indicated at the time which budget year it was placed in, but I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. I would love to know that before we vote on this. And another question regarding opposition. You have 7 opposition letters, or is it just one, the Schomburg,
Oh, sorry, no, the letters were all in support for the school.
including the Schomburg?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have questions? Councilwoman Nurse?
With this designation, would the Department of Sanitation continue using the building in the way it has been?
The use is, I think, to be determined. There's a study going on to first to rehabilitate the building and then to find a use that I think can serve a more public function and reflect the history of the building.
Okay.
But, you know, the designation covers the exterior of the building, so there's lots of flexibility for whatever use.
Who's doing that study?
Again,
In the press release that announced the $6 million rehabilitation, it was left open how it would be conducted exactly, but the language used was that it would be informed by community consultation. So we imagine that will be require liaising between the council member and the community board and some of the civic organizations in that area.
Thank you.
Is it going to include some of the folks that gave you support letters, like the Schomburg?
I hope they're involved in the conversations.
So we have to vote on this today, and I want to make sure we do the right thing here, right? So I just need a commitment from all of you that you're not only involving the folks that live in that area that are considered part resident and participatory in the civic associations, which is nice, but we know the area is gentrified, right? It would be great if you all can reach out to some of the folks that you got support letters from to be a part of that process. Just to piggyback off of Councilmember Nurse's question. In addition to that, it would be great if we all can have a conversation after this, being that we're voting on it now, so we don't have a sufficient amount of time to have a conversation with the mayor. But it would be great if we can change the use of the building to something else. And I just need a commitment from you guys before we vote. Sorry to be abrupt, guys, but it is what it is. So I just need that commitment on the record.
Well, I think our role is to, you know, designate it as a landmark, and the future use is going to be determined by the owners and through this process with the funding. But
And you
we
would be
can-
in support of us working with you and them to make sure that we're doing the right thing here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions by any other members? Sorry about that. Thank you. The applicant panel is now excused. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on either of these 2 landmark designations?
Chair, it appears that we do not have any members of the public signed up remotely, and if there is anyone in the room with us today who wishes to testify, please come forward, fill out a speaker card. Okay, it appears we have no witnesses for either of these items.
And there are no members of the public? Okay. Thank you. There being no members of the public online or in person to testify regarding preconsidered application numbers N230353HKK or N230362HIM, the public hearing is on the landmarks designation is now closed. Next, we will vote on the two items we just heard, and I'll take this last opportunity to recognize any of my colleagues that have any questions or remarks. As noted earlier, both Councilmember Gutierrez and Councilmember Bacho are in support of these designations. Any questions, remarks? All right, we're ready to go. I now call for a vote to approve pre-considered application numbers N230353HKK and N230362HIM. Council, please call the roll.
Chair Lewis.
I vote aye.
Councilmember Feliz.
Aye.
Councilmember De La Rosa.
Aye.
Councilmember Marte.
Aye.
Councilmember Nurse.
I vote aye.
Councilmember Ung.
Aye.
Councilmember Vernikov.
Aye.
Chair by a vote of 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and no abstentions, the items are adopted and recommended to the full Land Use Committee.
Thank you. That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use staff, and Sergeant at Arms for your participation today. This meeting is hereby adjourned.